Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special Reeler Sports exclusive. My name is Peter Rosenberg. My bro Danny Jacobs here, man. How are you, man?
Thanks for having me, my brother.
Brooklyn's own.
Yes, sir.
Okay, first and foremost, I want to get to a little bit about your life story because
Yes.
it's super interesting.
Sure.
But let's start out with why you're here tonight. Monday Night Fights, Best Buy
Yes.
Theater. What's going down?
It's going down. I've got a fight against Giovanni Lorenzo for the WBC Continental Championship belt, and it's going to be live on Fox Sports 1. It's going to be a huge event. It's going to be going down at the Best Buy Theater live in Times Square. So make sure you get there tonight, people. Check it out.
And it's a dope opportunity to see boxing up close. If you're a boxing fan or a sports fan in general who's never been to a live fight, going to the fights is a crazy experience for the first time, especially if you've never you're used to it. But when you've never been to a fight and you show up the first time,
you have people fighting in the crowds. It's like a whole different atmosphere.
Like, what is going on here? Now, this should be very cool. What's your record right now?
My record is 25-1 with 22 knockouts.
Who did the 1L come to?
Dmitry Pirog over from Russia.
Do you want to see him again?
He's retired now. I think he has some injuries.
Oh, he tried to dip on you.
Like,
he tried to take one and dip.
Yeah. After the one, he never fought again. It was
that was it?
That was it. Yeah. It's weird.
Now, Danny, you're known for a lot of things. You're from Brooklyn.
Yes. Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Brownsville, Brooklyn.
Make sure you get that right.
Some other good fighters from that area as well. I don't know if you're aware of that.
True.
Are you aware?
I am aware.
You are aware?
Yes.
There's some good ones there. Iron Mike Tyson, one of them. Zab's from Brownsville as well, right?
Yes.
Right nearby. Riddick Bowe's from down the street.
There we go.
Some good ones there. Now, obviously, the part of your story that became incredibly interesting, you have the somewhat typical history to start out with, a great amateur, all those different accolades.
Yeah.
And then a few years ago, you got sick, and at one point was not even able to walk.
Yeah. Crazy.
Take people through, if you can, take people through what that initial experience was when you found the tumor. I know you were overseas.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Well, what happened was me, Oscar De La Hoya, Adrian Broner, and the heavyweight Seth Mitchell, we went overseas to the USO tour, which we went to Iraq, we went to Baghdad and different places just to, support the troops. And I believe I got sick out there to the point where I had to cancel the trip. And when I got back, I started noticing my left leg in particular, became very weak, and I started walking with a flop. And then once
did you go to the doctor at that point? Are you like?
No, because you have to understand, boxers, when they're weak in the legs, that's normally from not training, or that's normally from having sex, and et cetera, et cetera. So I recognized that as just not training. And once it got worse to the point where I had to walk with a cane, I said, you know what, something's not right. Because I remember riding my bike one day to the gym, and I was missing the pedal. Like, I couldn't time the pedal. So I said, okay, something's wrong. I went to the doctor, and these creep doctors, man, they didn't want to take any. They didn't want to take an MRI. They wanted to just give me a quick little X-ray, and they told me I had a pinched nerve. I didn't have a pinched nerve. A week later, I was in crutches, and I said, something got to be wrong here. I went to the neurologist because my godmother, she came to my house, and when she knocked on the door, man, it was like I was paralyzed damn near. I had to crawl to get to the door. You know what I mean? And from that point on, we went to the neurologist. They sent me immediately to the hospital where they found it. They did an MRI finally, and they found a massive tumor wrapped around my spine. And that's what cut my nerves off, and that's what got me paralyzed. I believe I was paralyzed for about 2 to 3 weeks. I was wheelchair bound, but I had a successful 6-hour surgery to remove the tumor.
So when you did that, did you have to go in? Do you have to go all the way in there to scan your whole body?
They had to scan my whole body
because they're like, we don't know what the hell's going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas before, the initial doctors are just trying to take a quick look at you and get a quick fix.
Right.
See, that's a really important lesson to take away from the story. Is like you cannot. I find a lot of times people who don't have a lot of knowledge of medical situations, they just accept things how they are.
Yeah.
Like, listen,
and the doctor's words are golden to most people.
See, that's the thing.
I mean? Yeah.
I'm Jewish, all right? We know doctors.
Right.
So at all times when a medical situation comes up, there's a second opinion every time. Like, it just goes without saying. Like, if anyone hears anything like, oh, well, I know, and this is something that does come to class and privilege sometimes. True. A lot of people who have money and networks, they go, oh, well, I'm having a problem with this. So-and-so's father's a doctor. We should go see them.
Get a second opinion too. Yeah.
If people don't know that, and you're just showing up to the hospital, a lot of times these hospitals aren't doing the due diligence.
Yeah.
So you find out they have a tumor wrapped around your spine, and how bad could it have been if you hadn't checked it out right away?
The doctor said that I was so fortunate and lucky to have come in the time that I did, because he said if you'd have waited over the weekend, I went in on Friday. He said if you'd have waited over the weekend, you probably wouldn't have made it, because the tumor was growing at such a rapid pace, it would have slowed your heart down. So I was blessed and fortunate.
So basically, because it's your spine and there's so many nerve endings there and whatnot, it was just clamping down and messing up all the communication in your body.
Yeah, I was messed up, bro.
So you get the surgery.
Yeah.
And right away, did they tell you it's successful and you should be fine?
Well, that's when we found out that the tumor was cancerous. Initially, they didn't tell me because of everything that was going on. They didn't want me to,
also
lose
think
it.
About
right,
that.
So I think about 2 weeks later, my godmother called me and told me I had to get, radiation treatments. And for anybody who ever went through cancer or had family member, know that chemo and radiation is like, man, it's not the business, So I was fortunate to only get 25 counts, and I was fortunate to have overcome it. But at the same time, to going through that process at the time, it was hard. Truly hard. And the process of learning how to walk again. People don't understand, man, when you're paralyzed, like I have much respect for people in wheelchairs now, man, because being in a wheelchair myself for about a month, for about 3 weeks, I got just a different respect, different view of life in general. But man, the process of lifting my leg up and learning, I was so weak. Here I was, a 24-year-old man at the time. I couldn't even lift a dumbbell. You know what I mean? I was a world-class athlete.
That's like me. Right now.
Right. So, it was a life-changing situation for me. And it made me more humble. It made me more appreciative of life, because I'll tell you a quick story. Before everything happened, I remember reading the Bible, and I came across a word called meek. And meek, God said, those who are meek will inherit the earth. So I was just, I was trying to figure out what it meant, being humble, being appreciative, because at that age, I had pretty much everything, but I wanted to be humble. I wanted to be just appreciative of all the things that God has blessed me with. And I felt like this was my answer. Like, he stripped me of everything, and all I had was life. Like, do I be appreciative of this, or do I complain? So I took away the journey and the quest and everything that God's put me through, and become the man that I am today, which is a very humble guy.
That experience, did you go out at all in the wheelchair? Did you try to go out to a restaurant?
They wouldn't let me, man. Oh my God, that was like the worst 2 months ever. I was in the hospital. I had never seen the sunlight. My highlight of the day was watching people at the bus stop, man. They would not let me out.
That is a terrible highlight of any day. Well, I was hanging out with my friend recently, and she has a wheelchair, and she can walk. She can walk a little bit, but when it gets hard, she needs the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So she was walking, so I said, let me get in your wheelchair. So I started riding around in this wheelchair, and it was a very interesting experience, because the second you sit in the wheelchair and ride around for a second, you're able to see the faces and the way people react to you.
Yes.
And I found that to be just a super interesting experience.
It is, and it gives you a different perspective on just the way they live their life on a day-to-day basis. You have much more respect for people going to wheelchairs, because it's hard, man. I've had people look at me differently. And I wasn't used to that. So I had a newfound respect for people in wheelchairs and for handicap in general.
So tell me all about the knocking out programs you're doing and these different causes you're fighting for.
Well, obviously, I feel like being that I am a cancer survivor, it's only right that I start a foundation to target cancer and target awareness. We're doing all these different things in the world, but yet we still can't find a cure for cancer. You know what I mean? So I started this foundation for kids with battling cancer, battling obesity, and battling bullying, because those are mainly the key things in our communities. You know what I mean? So I started a foundation called Get in the Ring, which is appropriate because I'm a boxer.
Of course.
And what we're targeting people just to knock out those things and bring awareness to it. So actually today is last Friday was my first event that I had, and a whole bunch of boxers came, a whole bunch of celebs came, and they just supported a great event.
And so you raise money and you try to fight all these causes, bringing awareness and prevention, cancer, bullying, and what was the last one? And obesity.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic, man.
Thank you.
So tonight, Best Buy Theater, see this man in the ring, one of the exciting young middleweights in the world today. What is in the next year?
Yes.
1 year from now, what is a fight you would ideally love to see yourself having?
A year from now, I would love to have a fight with Sergio Martinez. He's recognized as the middleweight champion of the world. He has that green belt, and anybody who knows boxing knows that the champ has the green belt.
The green one is the one.
The WBC.
Yeah, the WBC has, for a long time now, really been, it gets really confusing, but you can pretty much follow the true champions through that WBC championship. Yeah. How far off in weight classes are you from Broner? He's like 147.
He's like 147. So I would say about maybe three or four weight classes.
How much do you weigh?
160, middleweight.
Could that ever happen?
probably never could happen.
Well, you would never want to go down there. What if he came up to you?
First of all, I couldn't make it.
You couldn't make it down there.
Yeah. Secondly, it would be too much for him to come up, or anybody at the welterweight division to come up that much.
But it's happened before.
In most cases, because maybe a guy who maybe didn't have power at the middleweight division, but from somebody to just jump from 147 to 160, that's kind of hard.
That's a lot. How good do you think Broner is?
I think Broner's very good, very good. Yeah, inside the ring. Yeah.
Would you like to see him and Floyd at any point? I know that it seems like an unlikely scenario. But.
Yeah, I mean, as a boxing fan, I think that's ideal for anybody to want to see that, but I don't think they will ever fight because of the relationship that they have.
See, that would be they need to realize that's the moneymaker.
That is the moneymaker.
Because now we know the Manny fight's done, never happening.
Yeah.
And no one will want to see it anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So now Floyd is taking on some fights that are very interesting, and we know he's getting down to the last few, but to me, the most interesting thing you could see would be Floyd going up against the new Floyd, someone that he's friends with. Floyd. That's the Rocky moment right there.
That is,
That's something I would love to see. But listen, we're excited for you tonight. Best Buy Theater. Get your tickets. Come out and see boxing live in Times Square. You can also catch it on Fox Sports 1. Brooklyn's own Danny Jacobs. Pleasure, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.